Hello, beautiful people. Welcome to MalFunctioned, a podcast where we acknowledge that sometimes the malfunctions in life become our greatest stories and lead us exactly to where we're meant to be, celebrating the beauty and being perfectly imperfect. I'm your host, Mallory Purnell, and today we're kicking off season 3 of the podcast. Wow, that's crazy to be able to say season 3 is kind of wild. I've been waiting for so long to be able to come back to you guys, and it's just been quite a journey. We started this podcast a little over a year ago, and a lot has changed. So we're going to get into all of that today. I'm really excited to be back and to be sharing some of the new insights on life that I have for you, but mostly just chat and hang out and discuss some of the things that may feel like a malfunction, but really catapult us into where we should be in life. And I think that's really going to be the catalyst of this next era of the podcast. So if you've been here before, you may have noticed that there are definitely some changes. And if you're new here, I really appreciate you guys coming along for the wild ride. Just to catch everyone up and address the elephant in the room, I am bringing this podcast back on my own. So no co-hosts this season, but I will be inviting a lot more guests in the future. And something I'm really excited about is having meaningful conversations with people like artists, other content creators, musicians, and honestly, just some people in my personal life that I think we can have really awesome conversations with. So thank you for being here and thank you for returning if this is not your first rodeo with us. There are so many people that I'm excited to have deep conversations with in hopes to really just help each other navigate through this life of ups and downs, and really just trying to understand collectively that these hard seasons are what can be that driving force that shapes us and what makes life even more beautiful, even when it doesn't feel that way in the moment. Now, I don't want to speak for my prior co-host, Kelsey. So much love to her, but I do just want to address the elephant in the room and let you guys know if she ever decides that she would like to come back and explore the podcast in the future, then of course I would be welcoming her back with open arms, and I would love to see her maybe be a guest on an episode one day. I just think that sometimes in life we don't always get to decide what our priorities should be, and sometimes we have to make really tough decisions, and that can create a domino effect in not only our lives but in other people's lives. And we don't always have control over that, and that's actually something that I myself am trying to navigate right now. I feel like this idea of having really no control in my life and trying to just be okay with that has been something that I've been learning along the way. And it's not easy because I'm definitely the type of girl that loves to have control. I love to know what I'm doing. I love to know where I'm going. I love to know everything. I'm a know-it-all. And I just feel like this is a chapter of my life where I know nothing. I didn't expect where life has taken me at all whatsoever. But I think that that's the beauty in this life. And that's what I hope to bring to the forefront in this podcast. Just that we are not always going to get what we expect. It's not always going to happen the way we plan. And I think taking that and realizing that it's okay, we don't have to have control, and actually we shouldn't have control over those things. Imagine if you did have control over those things, it would be so unhealthy. You just don't want that. And I don't think that we're meant to have control for a good reason. I think that our lives are not necessarily guided by ourselves. I think that life of going through ebbs and flows is really just about how we are reacting to it and how we then touch base and come off of that. And so I just feel like this next chapter, not only in the podcast, but just in life in general, has really taught me that when we try to take too much control and when we try to navigate everything on our own, things may really fall to the wayside. And again, you just don't have control over those things, and that's okay. We shouldn't have control over those things. So I think it's a beautiful thing to learn and realize that the parts of life that are so difficult, the parts in life that are hard, the parts in life that are not perfect, the parts in life that we don't have control of, are the parts of life that are meant to be so beautiful. Those are the parts that are meant to change us. Those are the things that are supposed to put us exactly where we're meant to be. And that's really just what I want to bring to this life. We're just here. We're just here for the ride. We're here for a good time, not a long time. So I think it's beautiful to be able to, I guess, just take life as it comes at you. And I think that's really the hardest part to learn in adulthood, is that we may have had a plan for our future. We may have had a plan for school. We may have had an idea of the career that we wanted. And by the time you hit 25, 28, 30, like those plans have changed. And I think if you're in that season of life right now where you're realizing, oh my gosh, my whole life I assumed that I would be doing this, or I thought that, this is what I wanted. I think it's okay for us to know that those things change, and that's just how it is. As someone who just always felt like it was my duty to have control over a situation, or felt the need to advise others in a direction that I think they should be going for them to accomplish their goals and their dreams and their heart's desires, or what I believe that they deserved. Because, you can tell people what you think that they should be doing or what you assume that they want. Maybe they don't even have that desire. I've realized sometimes people are just going to talk and even share things with other people that they might think that they want, but maybe their actions or how they move are showing otherwise. And at that point, you really just kind of got to let them do them. You just have to let that go. Do your thing. Let them find out for themselves what's important to them. I was always the kind of person that felt like if my friend was coming to me and saying, this is what I want, and this is what I know I need to do, I was always like holding them accountable. And I was always telling them, hey, don't do that. That's not going to help your goal. Or maybe you should see it from this perspective. And honestly, sometimes people just don't want to hear it. And I think that's something else that I've had to learn a lot in this life, is like, not everybody wants to hear your opinion. To be so honest, like, they may think they want to hear your opinion. They might come to you and think that they want to hear. But a lot of times, if you're really, for lack of a better term, beating a dead horse, you really just have to let people find out for themselves. Sometimes it's that person that you're telling them, I know for a fact this certain thing works. I know that this works. Believe me. Why would you not believe me? I'm very trustworthy in your life. This absolutely works. There's no doubt. And you can tell them that and tell them that and tell them that. But until they find out for themselves, it's not going to hit. That message not going to come across in a way that sometimes it can even come out wrong. Sometimes it can even come off worse. Sometimes the friend that's always unhappy no matter what, like, they're just going to be unhappy no matter what. You keep pouring into them and you keep telling them what to do. Like, I already did this. I know that this is how it should go. And they continue to do what's not working. At that point, you just have to let go and realize all of that energy that you're pouring into them is going to be best suited pouring into yourself. Like, you have to be pouring as much energy as you're pouring into others. You should be pouring that energy into yourself. And I think that's another big lesson that I've learned just in my long life now, because I'm turning 28 this year. I just feel like that's something I've realized. Not only does not everybody want to hear your opinion, but also they may think that they want your opinion, but when they are hit with that, they're not ready to hear it sometimes. And that's okay too. I think we all just need to give each other grace and let each other figure out this life, because we're all here for the first time. This is all of our first times. And I know it's not good to be on the receiving end of feeling like maybe your friend is judging you for the decisions you've made, or sticking with the guy that maybe they don't agree with. And that's just really like none of your business. If your friend is with someone that is making them unhappy, or might not be right for them, that's really none of your business at that point. Let them vent, let them let it out, let them get over it, because if they're going to be macking up again tomorrow and you know that for a fact, then you're just going to have to watch your friend find out for themselves. And I think that's okay too. Like I said, a lot of this is just realizing that these hard parts in life are really what get us to where we're supposed to be. And sometimes watching your friends or watching your family have hard times of their own is so hard, when you feel like you have the answers or you feel like you can help them, but you just can't do everything for everyone. And that energy that you're putting towards everyone else to say, this is what you should be doing, or this is what worked for me, pour that energy back into yourself and realize that that energy is better spent on your own. And I think not only me, like a past version of myself needs to hear that, but I know that there's so many people that can resonate with that and just realize that we don't need to have control over those situations. Even if you feel like it's your duty to have some sort of control over that, I just don't think it's worth it at the end of the day. Like, they're gonna do what they're gonna do, and you do you, boo. Like, honestly, I feel like now I'm kind of sounding like Sincere from Love Island, like coming up with all of these like analogies, like, that friend that's just doing the most, and you're like, girl, you don't need to be doing all that. Like, girl, let them live. I was saying Sincere from Love Island because I've been watching a lot of Love Island lately, and I don't know. Is anyone else watching Love Island? Because I feel like it's just been a crazy season. It's been teaching me so much about people in general. And it's that same thing of watching someone constantly make a decision that you're like, no, that's not a good choice, or no, that's not the right option. And they may know that that's not the best option. And they may feel that maybe I'm not doing everything that I could to be the best version of myself, but also maybe they're not ready to make that other decision. Maybe they're not ready, or they're not meant to move on in another direction, the direction you think that they should be going. I don't know. I just feel like Love Island kind of tied into that, because I've been seeing a lot of the cast in this season like making decisions that maybe we as an audience feel like is not right, or is not healthy, or is toxic. And it's like, I'm not gonna lie, if most of us were on that show, we'd be making the same dumb decisions, we'd be doing the same stuff. And like, we just gotta give these people grace. Not only are they making real world decisions and real life hard truths that they're learning, but they're also doing it in front of America, and that's terrifying. I could never imagine what that would be like. I feel like that's a perfect example of what we're talking about anyway, with the girls in the show constantly talking about, I want to do this for myself. But they continue to go back to these men or these toxic situations. That's something that Dolman and I are going to be discussing on our next podcast episode. And yes, Dolman will be making his podcast debut. I'm really excited for that. We're going to be discussing a lot more. I just really loved what he said about this, and I'm going to get into in a second. But we will be talking about relationships and some of the dynamics that we see throughout the show on Love Island, because we're just seeing a lot of things that we might not be resonating with, but that we know a lot of you may be resonating with, or our family or our friends could resonate with, that it's like, this is our perspective and kind of how we see it being in our relationship, and kind of how we've dealt with similar issues or situations. And he put it like so perfectly. And I love the way Dolman speaks about things, especially when it comes to relationships, because that man is just he's so in tune with not just his feelings, but just relationship dynamics in general. He's so smart, and I love when he tells me how he's feeling about stuff, because he doesn't talk often, but when he does, it's beautiful. And so he had actually mentioned it pretty perfectly, that sometimes a man is just not willing to put in the effort that it takes to be with a certain caliber of a woman. And that related so hard to the KC situation, because there are just some men, and I've had this happen in my own life, that are just not willing to put in the effort that it takes to be with a certain caliber of woman. There are some women that are so successful and fine as heck and like top of the mountain, absolutely a prize, and she may feel worthless with the wrong man because he may not be willing to put in the type of actual effort it takes to sustain a relationship with her, a real relationship with her. It makes me think of that scene where Melanie's like screaming at Anaya, being like, do you want someone who you have to build up? He doesn't even fit into your life. And sometimes we may fall for people that just don't fit into our lives. And maybe they fit into my life right now, but do they always fit into my life? And I think that's also something really hard when you love someone and you feel like maybe it's just not fitting the right way anymore. And that's why I always say, like, love is not enough. You have to have that effort. And again, we're going to talk more about this in our next episode when Dolman is with us, because he just has so many great points to make. Like, he just says it so well. He says it better than even I could. And I just agree with him in a lot of things. And I do disagree with him on stuff, so do not get it twisted that we will be having real meaningful conversations in that next episode. But I just wanted to kind of let you know where this next era of discussion is taking us, because I just loved his insight on that with relationships and the dynamic, and feeling like, you know, you may think that you want one thing, but then a malfunction in life happens that puts you somewhere else, but that's exactly where you're meant to be. And it all just comes full circle. And that's exactly what the podcast is about. So I just really wanted to come on here tonight, say hello to the new friends that we've made online. I've been so excited to get this episode up, honestly, because so many people were so great and so supportive and just absolutely motivating, really, to get the episode up. And I love to yap. I'm a yapper. So if I can sit down here and film this podcast episode and just try to let everyone know where we're headed on this next chapter, I wanted to just come in here and do it and just let you guys know what we want to accomplish and how the hardest season of life really is what drives us. When you start really thinking about that, like, think about your hardest season. Think about something. I'm not saying think about nothing terrible or nothing, but I'm just saying, like, think about that hard season. Maybe you're going through it right now. There's this saying that the harder the season, the bigger the reward. And I just truly believe that. I have to believe that because I've been through some tough seasons. And honestly, some of the hardest things that's happened in my life, if I look back now, I think if that had not happened to me, I would not be where I'm at today. And I just would not have all of the amazing things and the amazing people in my life that I do. And I don't know, I'm really a believer in everything happens for a reason. So I don't know. I just think we might just be growing. And I think we're all just growing and learning and just trying to figure it out. And we'll get into more of this next week when Dolman is on, because again, he has such a beautiful take on this topic and his own experiences in this department and our relationship and how it's shaped both of us, and how honestly the hardest parts of our relationship made us learn the most about each other and about ourselves and what we want and what we expect in this life. And I genuinely feel that I know we're not alone in this. I know that there's so many people that feel that way. So if we can shed light on the hard parts and the difficult parts of life, and just trying to reframe our mindset. I think a lot of this is like reframing a mindset from a lot of people. I know for me, it's definitely about reframing our mindset and just thinking, life is tough, but we keep going, because you either keep going or you give up. And I don't want anybody giving up. So we're here and we're excited for the next chapter. And I want to thank you guys, if you got this far, for listening to me yap. It was quite a short episode, as prior episodes may be, but I just wanted to touch on a few topics that had been in the back of my mind lately, and really just come back, welcome you guys in. If you're new here, again, I really appreciate you guys coming in and supporting us and giving us ideas. I had the best conversation on Threads. Actually, if you guys are on Threads, connect with me on Threads. I love Threads. The Threads community is so like elite, because you don't have to have no followers. You don't have to have nothing on Threads, but you write a thread, it goes out into the abyss, and somebody somewhere is going to relate or comment or like it or feel something from it. And I feel like we're just not shy over in Threads. I feel like Threads is such a wonderful community. It's what Twitter used to be. And I think we can make it so much better if we all get over there and start chatting with one another, because the community on Threads is really who propelled me to continue this podcast and to get this episode even done. So if you're on Threads and you're listening to this, I sincerely thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of the community that gave me motivation to continue with my podcast platform, but was also so willing to say, hey, I don't know you, but that was the best thing I ever did in my life, and I absolutely think you should do the same. And I took that and I ran with it, and I said, heck yeah, that's exactly what we're going to do. We are bringing the podcast back. And even if I'm on my own, I can yap for an hour. I'm not afraid to yap for an hour. You clearly see that I can yap for the last 20, 30 minutes. So you already know your girl is excited for this next chapter. Season 3 of MalFunctioned. We are wrapping it up, the first episode. And those are just not words I ever thought I was going to say. And I just appreciate you guys for being there for me. If you, again, watched from the beginning, I sincerely value your support. And if this is your first episode, then hello, welcome. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope that it gives you some sort of peace of mind to know that you're not alone in these weird, maybe anxious thoughts about having to have control and priorities in life changing, and moments are creating shifts in dynamics and relationships are changing, and we're all just growing and learning for the first time. And I think it's such a beautiful thing that we can all share in that experience. So I appreciate you guys being here. I really don't even know how to end the podcast, because I don't even remember how we used to end the podcast, to be honest. I think I used to say something like, and that's been MalFunctioned, a podcast where everything goes wrong, but it feels right. And I just don't resonate with that anymore. I don't resonate with everything going wrong anymore. I think things are still going to go wrong, but I think that they're going to go wrong for a purpose now. Like, it feels so purposeful in life when things happen and when malfunctions happen and when hard times occur. It just feels like it's for a reason. So I feel like we definitely need to come up with a new ending. Maybe just that we're enjoying every little part of life, even if it does feel like a malfunction. In the moment, it might put you exactly where you're meant to be. Thank you guys.